ladies and gentlemen, I am going to spend some time on securing the cyberspace, particularly the information security aspect of it. Now today, internet is evolving, and today we are in an age which is really machine-to-machine age, which is beyond social media. And by next year or year next to that, we will see Internet of Things, wherein we will have people, data, processes, everything talking to each other. And that is the point where all this is going to be very, very interesting. That's called the third wave. Third wave to get the human efficiency improved. And in the third wave, we will have the networked everything and networked society. We have already been through two phases: network consumer electronics and network industries. Now this is the third phase. And in this phase, we believe that more than 20 billion devices are going to be connected. They are going to be connected online. Now if you look at the hype cycle, the Gartner's hype cycle, then Internet of Things is right now peaking absolutely at the top. Though there are other technologies like big data, M2M communication services. But IoT and IoE are absolutely topping. Now how this all has happened? This has happened because of the path-breaking inventions in microelectronics and the future trends which I can see in the market because of the low power devices, reduction in the sensor size, reduction in sensor cost, and low power microcontroller units. I can see more than 100 billion embedded devices. Now why I am making all these points? Because all these sensors are creating data day in and day out. And this is a huge amount of data we are talking about. We are talking about data which is much beyond the personal data of people. Now, what we are actually doing, we are linking the physical world with virtual things. That is the architecture of IoT. We are linking physical world with virtual things. And that is where it is going to get very interesting. Let's look at the Indian cyberspace. 155 major ISPs, 150 million internet users, 946 million mobile users. Overall teledensity of about 75%. And if you look at the numbers, the other numbers, out of a population of 1.26 billion, 946 have mobile connections. 243 million are active internet users. 118 million active social media accounts. And active social media accounts, more than 100 million. Now out of this 946 million, more than 12% phones are smartphones. And you look at the rate at which they are growing, 39% plus. That's a huge number. Now since now we are also covering the new technologies, I find I must mention smart cities here. Smart cities, because smart cities are going to generate the maximum volume of data. It's basically making optimal use of big data from the embedded network sensors, and then it optimizes the infrastructure. Could be physical infrastructure, social infrastructure, institutional infrastructure, or economic infrastructure. And then we used to hear safe city initiatives. Now that has been subsumed in smart city initiative. So you have all kinds of markets available. Now this I am talking from the perspective of vendors. All kinds of markets are available. You have network security market, network connectivity market, integration services market, application services market, connected device platforms and application platforms. There is a huge market. There is every vertical which is working into this. And if you look at the architecture, you have enabling technologies and then you have essential services. You could have any number of additional enabling technologies and you could have any number of essential services or so-called responsibilities of the government or of the local bodies. Now how it all operates? Basically, Smart City framework, you monitor, you first embed the sensors throughout the infrastructure of the city. And then you monitor those sensors, you collect data through various protocols, and then you control various activities. You get into various domains, right from your building technologies, your homes, vehicles, industries, retail, medical, offices, municipal functions. Everything is being controlled. Now, look at the number of sensors which can be embedded. Practically for every little function, you're going to have a sensor. Now, India is a poor country. We cannot afford so many sensors. Even if we can afford sensors, we lay sensors in a new city. It is going to be extremely difficult job to collect data, sift this data, and make a sense out of it. Now, if we look at the kind of architecture which is required to handle this kind of data, you have 4-layered architecture. You have data capture and connectivity layer, you have multi-service gateway network, you have data management, you have business applications. And a very important layer in between, which is called machine-to-machine integration platform. That's everywhere cloud-based services available. You connect to that cloud, so that's how you integrate M2M, you integrate with M2M platform. Now here you see large number of companies working. There are companies in RFID, there are companies in barcoding, companies in Ethernet, Wi-Fi, NFC, Zigbee. So there are huge number of companies working on different technologies. And there is a piece for everyone. But then we need some kind of an operating system, I won't call it, an operating environment, which is a city level environment, or which is a state level environment, where everything can get in, every data can be collected, it can go onto the cloud, to the particular stack where it belongs, and then you analyze that data. Right now, if you look at the last 100 meters, maybe within your house, maybe within your office, there are 90% devices which are not connected yet. And there are only 10% devices which are connected. So this is called the 90-10 rule. Now our challenge is to connect these 90% devices. And these are going to be connected in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, at the most by 2020. Now, since India is a poor country, we thought of thinking of some ways of collecting the data without embedding the sensors. And we find that smartphone today can replace host of gadgets and can act as last mile connector or last mile sensor, so to say. The smartphone can act as eyes, ears, location sensor, position sensor, direction, movement, speed, acceleration, closeness. Similarly, you can crowdsource information and you can provide spatial information, temporal information, environmental information, user characterization. All kinds of information is possible to be collected through these cell phones. And here comes our major challenge. Smart cities, city as a platform for data sharing and smart services. So developing a secure ecosystem for applications and services, the last 100 meter connectivity of devices, then collection, integration, management and optimal use of this big data. Could be structured, it could be semi-structured, but most of it is unstructured. Then analysis of this big data and operate actuators to react in real time, and most importantly, privacy, security and personal information of this big data. Now if you look at the technologies which are going to be extremely important or which are extremely important, cloud computing, data analytics, data management, IT software, cyber security, IT infrastructure, mobile technologies, data centers. Now rest all is going down. So these are the technologies on which we cannot ignore. We'll have to really concentrate on these technologies. Now big data, we'll have to collect the data as I was talking about. You have to aggregate the data, you have to analyze the data, and then you have to act on this data. So you need standards for doing that. You need huge standards. Just to give you some idea about the number of transactions, and this is the ETAL figure which I took last night. And you see how many transactions, 256 crore transactions since January 2015. And when I analyzed the number of transactions state-wise, I can find, see, Gujarat, 1 transaction per month. Lakshadweep, 2 transactions, 1.94 transactions per month. You see the average 0.01 transactions per month. And if you take this number to a very respectable figure of, say, 100, you see, you multiply it by 10,000 times. So the amount of data which you're going to handle is going to be absolutely huge. Similarly, cloud, now today you have Meghraj available. I recall the days when we were struggling with buying these servers and the server software. It used to take us more than a year even for a simple procurement. Today, if you want to achieve the same thing, you can just do it in 10 minutes time. Just go onto the portal and you place your order. You make the payment from government to government, and then you have your system up and running. Similarly, cloud is the way for every smart city. Cloud is the way for all government applications. I'll just mention a very small example. In Delhi, we wanted to implement a very small program that anybody downloading a small piece of software on the mobile will be able to know as to which police station area he is standing. Who is the Thana in charge, what is his number, you can call him directly. And also you will get the crime statistics of that Thana. Suppose you are hiring a house in that Thana area. So you will know how safe this area is. So when I wanted to do it the other way, the cost quoted was huge, more than 1 crore. And the time required was shown to be more than 12 months. But when we implemented it on a cloud, everything was just happened in about 30 days time. And the cost was less than 2 lakhs. So cloud is the way to go. Now finally, developing a secure application and services ecosystem. You have to have cross-section of various aspects of national security, public safety, public security, and public health, privacy issue, IPR, regulatory issues. And then you have other dimensions. You have cybercrime, espionage attack, remote attacks. Think of, say, drones for surveillance. Today, there are no controls for drones. There are no licenses for drones. Google Glasses. There is no law which bans Google Glasses in India, though they have banned it in some of the installations. But throughout the world, need to create those laws. Then suppose it is self-driving cars. In case of failure, who is liable? Whether the company is liable, whether the passenger is liable. Suppose a child is traveling in that car, whether you hold the parents of the child responsible for that. Who would be responsible? So these are some of the very important issues. Similarly, trade union versus automation. Now, when we talk about data security and information security, we talk about the entire life cycle of information. I'm not going to go into details of information security. I will simply mention about the way Government of India has gone about it. Now, there are levels, cyber crime, then cyber espionage, cyber terrorism, and cyber warfare. That's a full-fledged warfare. And this cyber and information security concerns are becoming the top concerns for every organization and every individual. And the attack methods have gone very, very sophisticated. Ransomware is growing very fast. They will capture your device and they will release it only if you pay them something. So the end point is that attackers are turning to the Internet of Things. And that is where the entire world is going. So IoT and IoE, they are going to be the biggest targets. The kind of information people are targeting. This is the top 10 kinds of information people are targeting. Your personal information, your medical records, your phone numbers, your government ID, your addresses, your emails. Because most of the authentication happens with the combination of some of these parameters. Now, 2 or 3 parameters they'll take and they'll combine it, and then you will be authenticated. Now, I also wanted to share with you that cyber security is a very big area, and there are a number of ministries involved in Government of India in handling this. Now, there are overlaps, and still there are tough fights. MHA is handling information security, information classification and codification along with IB. Then NIC in DITI is handling government IT infrastructure. Similarly, DITI CERT-In is handling the entire cyberspace as a whole. NTR is handling only the critical information infrastructure out of that cyberspace. DOT is handling security of communication infrastructure, whereas individual departments have been made responsible for any crisis management plan, any crisis which happens within the organization. So that is broadly the structure. So what we did, we divided this entire information, entire data into 6 layers: strategic layer, internal security layer, critical sector layer, then government information layer, financial layer, and finally the commercial layer. So these 6 layers, and then we studied the worldwide standards which have been applied by various countries, various organizations to handle their data. And based on that, we came up with the National Information Security Policy and Guidelines. Now, it took us about a year to publish this document. It has 8 core domains, 5 other essential domains, 112 guidelines, 135 control objectives, and 182 implementation guidelines. And then we mapped this document to ISO 27001, both 2005 as well as 2013. Then we mapped it to FISMA and NIST as well. We also looked at SANS 20 control. And then we removed the gaps wherever we found. So just for your interest, these are the 8 core domains and 5 essential domains which we have identified. Data security, application security, identity and access management, network and infrastructure management, then security monitoring and incident management, threat and vulnerability management, then personal security, physical security. So these are the 8 domains, main domains. And then there are other domains: business continuity, disaster recovery, security audit, security testing, then cloud computing, virtualization, mobility, and social media. So that has been clubbed into one. And then open source. And you have all kinds of details available. What kind of controls are to be applied, what kind of management guidelines are to be applied, and what kind of implementation guidelines are to be applied. So this document has been finalized, it has been circulated, it is mandated for all the government departments, all the PSUs, and those private companies which are working with the government. Only to the extent they are working with the government, it's applicable to them. So I would say that we need to create standards, we need to evolve standards for everything, the way we handle it. So security and laws are changing from the requirement of the physical world to virtual world, and our laws are just not suited for the virtual world as of now. So we need to correct that situation. We cannot predict technology, so we'll have to go along with it. We'll have to quickly modify the law. Otherwise, law is modified some 5 to 6 years later than the technology. So unless we do that, there's a big threat to the national security as well as to the individual security and organizational security. That's all I wanted to say.